Grade 10 English, Chapter 4, from the Diary of Anne Frank. Summary of the lesson. The, the author Anne Frank feels that it is strange and unusual for her to write in a diary about her feelings and experiences because it was the first time she was doing it. She feels this because she thinks that in the future, no one would be interested in reading about a young schoolgirl's past. She thinks that later, even she will not be interested in reading it. But then she puts these thoughts away and decides that she should write if she feels like doing so. She feels the need to write because there were a lot of thoughts she had been holding on to lately and she needed to get them off her mind. It is known that writing one's thoughts act as therapy. She makes the decision of writing a diary. Then she also feels that paper has much more patience, capacity to absorb thoughts than people. People have low patience levels, but a piece of paper being a non-living thing would not refuse from absorbing her thoughts. This realization came to her one day when she was feeling more sad and confused than usual. She could not even decide whether to go out or stay at home at the time. When she finally decided to stay at home, she sat being depressed and in deep thought. Again, she thought that paper had more patience than people. So she decided to write everything that came in her mind because she didn't intend on making someone read it unless she found a real friend. By real friend, she meant a friend with whom she could share all her secrets. The author then comes back to the point where she thought of beginning to write. It is because she is lonely and has no friend to talk to. Let me put it more clearly. Since no one will believe that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone in the world, and I am not, she said. She then goes on explaining why she feels the need for a friend. She feels that no one is going to believe that a young girl like her is so alone, which practically she is not because she has a loving family, near about 30 people that can be called friends, loving aunts, and a good place to stay. This depicts a clear picture of a happy family, but the one thing that lacks in her life is the presence of a true friend with whom she can share everything. She does have a good time with friends. They talk about stuff but not real stuff that is actually going on their lives. Despite trying hard, they are unable to get closer. She feels that maybe it is her who is not able to trust anyone with her private stuff, that she is not able to come any close to her friends. She feels that the current situation cannot be changed and thus she needs to write her feelings in the diary. To enhance the image of this long awaited friend in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the facts, she said. Usually, when someone is writing in a diary, they list down all the facts about them in a formal manner, which the author does not want to do. This is because she wanted to give her need for a friend a shape and thus decides to name the diary as Kitty, hoping that someone would read her diary one day. She thinks that writing without giving details about the background story would be ineffective. So, despite not wanting to do so, she gives brief details about her life. She refers to her father as the most lovable father one could get. Her father married her mother when she was at the age of 36 and she was 25. She and her sister Margaret were both born in Frankfurt. As soon as Anne turned 4, her father moved to Holland, followed by her mother in September, while both the sisters stayed with their grandmother in Aachen. Margaret was also sent to Holland in December, followed by Anne in February, who was brought as a birthday present for Margaret. In Holland, Anne was sent to Montessori Nursery School. It was her first school. She started from first form. She had Mrs. Cooper's, the headmistress, as her teacher in sixth form, who even cried at the time of farewell. In 1941, the author's birthday could not be celebrated well because her grandmother fell ill and underwent an operation. Unfortunately, her grandma died in January 1942 and misses her grandmother more than anyone knows. This year's birthday was to be celebrated with a great zeal so as to compensate for the last years. She then mentions that her family is doing well, which sums up her background and brings her to the present date of 20 June 1942 when she is writing her diary. So this is actually the brief introduction and about the habit, how she got the habit of writing diary, and also brief history about her family. This